further ado, as we said, we will go through the candidates. We'll start with post 5, 2 candidates running there, and that is the incumbent Clifford Holmes and the challenger Michael Jones. We welcome both of you and are happy to have you with us. Our questions come from our panelists today. We're very pleased to welcome 13 WMAZ morning anchor Caitlin Heck and Vice President with Cadence Bank David Danzy, and we certainly appreciate them taking their time. So without further ado, we will get underway, and we'll start with opening statements. 2 minutes for the candidates. Mr. Holmes, we'll start with your opening remarks.
Well, thank you, first of all, for the opportunity to come before you this evening. I'm Clifford Holmes, as stated. I'm married, 2 kids, grown, 2 grandkids, and 1 little lady, 5 years old, that rules the niece, my great-grand. I'm a retired educator of 40 years in Houston County and did 2 years at the Georgia Department of Education, Vocational Division, and so instructional consultant. Served as city councilman. This is my 12th year as councilman, post 5 to be exact. 70 days with interim mayor. That was back in September 2008 until November 2008. Served in the Houston County Hospital Authority for 8 years. Where we added some new wings, new emergency room, and what have you. Housing Authority, 4 years. Phoenix Center Behavioral Health Service Board of Directors, 2 years. Middle Georgia Consortium, 2003 until present. Chairperson of the Youth Council, Board of Directors of Workforce Development. Middle Georgia Clean Air Coalition, Middle Georgia Region Commission, Middle Georgia Aging Committee. Georgia Municipal Association, where I was just elected 2 years. I'm the 2nd vice president of that. Warner Robins Christian Methodist Episcopal Church, my membership, where I served as steward for a term, and I served as treasurer on the steward board. I am not tired yet, and I say that because I've served 12 years, and that's a long time. But I'm not tired. As I said, I'm a retired educator. And when I retired from education, nothing stopped. In fact, I didn't realize there was so many things to be done after retirement. So look forward to that and look forward to working after that.
All right, opening statement, 2 minutes, Mr. Jones.
Thank you very much. My name is Michael Jones. I'm grateful to be here. First, I want to thank the Robbins Regional Chamber, and I'd also like to thank 13 WMAZ for allowing me this opportunity to speak on my platform. The reason that I'm running is simple. I truly believe that we need change. We need different voices. We need different opinions. We need different ideas, policies, and solutions. And I feel that the way that we've been moving currently is just not the most conducive way or the most efficient way of getting things done. I'm running on 3 T's. There's truth, there's trust, and there's transparency. I believe that by always being truthful, we can garner a lot of trust that has been lost in the citizens when it comes to their local government. And by doing so, we can always remain transparent. One of the things that I'd like to see is a little bit more community involvement, not just on the community's behalf, but also on the council. I think that we need to be more interactive when it comes to the people that we're representing. We need to actually understand what their needs, their issues, their concerns, their comments might be, and that's the best way of actually serving them. We as politicians have a unique way of trying to impose our will on the citizens and make them believe that what we're doing is best for them, but we actually have to listen to them. So that's what we've been doing. We've been canvassing the streets. Everywhere in Post 5, I've had an ability to go into and talk to just different citizens, different residents, to actually see what it is that they want. Most people think it's big things. It's small things. They want more street lights. They want speed bumps in residential areas. They want to feel safe. They want the crime to be addressed in different ways than just a heightened police sense. And I just feel that I am a perfect candidate to do such. When we speak about diversity, we don't necessarily speak about age, but we don't have too many young voices on the council, and I would like to change that. I feel that we have a unique perspective that could also help contribute a lot, and I think that we're valuable assets when it comes to that. So my name is Michael Jones. I am running for Post 5 City Council, and I'm here to give a voice to the voiceless, and I appreciate it.
All right, thank you all. We'll start with our question and answer period right now. The first question, Mr. Danzy, and it's directed to Mr. Jones. You'll go first.
Good evening, Mr. Jones, Mr. Holmes. First question, Houston County is booming on all fronts, and Warner Robins continues to experience exponential growth. One wouldn't have to look hard to note that concentrated growth is happening inequitably throughout our community. How would you attract redevelopment opportunities into areas that have not seen the same level of investment as others?
That's a great question. And seeing as I'm running for post 5, that area is the area that I would be representing. And to be honest with you, there's not a lot of economic opportunity out there. I do Uber on the side, so I get a chance to pick up a lot of people, and I'm constantly taking them over to 96, to Lake Joy, to other areas of the city because they don't have any real places of employment on that side of town. So one of the things that I think would really help us is to get through the settlement so that we can actually turn the fiber on, so that we can become a smart city. A smart city would do wonders when it comes to attracting new industry, and a lot of that industry may also be able to be placed on that side of town. I also think that by actually going forward with the redevelopment of Commercial Circle and attempting to create a downtown area, that those kind of opportunities can also open, the doors to other jobs that might be able to be provided on that side of town. So I think that we just need to put a concentration of the funds, allocate funds to that area, and then also try to attract developers and let them know that there are other areas in Warner Robins that they can, work in.
All right, same question, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, several years ago, and I mean several years ago, the north side of town, or Post 5, was a flourishing area. Businesses, car dealerships, grocery stores, and what have you. And as they began to develop the city and the growth took place, as you're seeing right now, they're moving south, they're moving west. So naturally, for whatever reason, the businesses are moving that way. I would love to, and it's my desire, to rebuild the north side of town, or the north side of Warner Robins, Post 5, by coming up with some plans through help from the citizens, help from the businesses, because I won't do it. It's going to take the village, as we speak of often, the village to build and to draw people back to that side of town.
All right, our next question will come from Caitlin Heck, and Mr. Holmes, you'll answer first this time.
Okay.
Well, we've heard a lot of talk about developing a downtown or a city center for the city of Warner Robins. What do you think that would look like, and how would you make that a reality?
Fortunately, it's going to happen. And you'll start seeing some groundbreaking soon. Starting at Watson Boulevard, maybe Watson Boulevard and Davis Drive. With possibly a new business will come into town and open up in that vacant field right there in the circle. The downtown development, which was, I serve on that, I chair that committee by virtue of the fact that as a liaison person to the council, and we lost 2 or 3 members, I serve as the chair of that now. We just added some new members to that. I foresee the downtown development, Commercial Circle, kicking off right there at Davis Drive and Watson Boulevard and moving south. I mean, whatever direction that is, north, to where business is coming in.
Same question, Mr. Jones.
Thank you. So what I envision is an area that's family friendly, that you can just literally walk from store to store. You can, maybe stop at these restaurants. And there's also a work, live, play environment that might also come into effect, where we have lofts over the actual buildings where people can actually live there, and they can, really take full advantage of the facilities. I think that there's great opportunity to create this beautiful little area where we also have like amphitheaters, and we can have community events where the city can actually put on certain things. Maybe it's a food truck Friday, or maybe it's a any type of event that might actually get the citizens involved, and that would be the area that I feel would be the best area for that. The Commercial Circle, right around Davis, parts of Watson. So I just envision this nice area where you can just go out on a Sunday afternoon and you can enjoy the the buildings, you can enjoy the bars or the restaurants, and just a great place that you can enjoy yourself.
All right, our next question will come from Mr. Danzy, and Mr. Jones, you'll go first this time.
Yes, sir.
As you know, our neighborhoods have made great strides in combating blighted communities, and so this ties in with the downtown piece. What do you think we can do to impact and stabilize these local neighborhoods against blight?
So Blight is actually on the platform that I'm running on. There's a few ideas that we could probably tackle before we go to the actual legal routes, but I think actually addressing it with the landowners, seeing is there a way that they can get their stuff up to code. You know, if they don't actually live in the community, they don't have true reasoning to care too much about the abandoned buildings, especially if there's not a business there. But if we can actually talk to them into either selling the property or redeveloping it so that they can actually provide a service to the community, I think that would be a great way to do it. But then there's also this idea called land banks, where you create organizations that would actually go in and work to redevelop or take those properties to make them a little bit more efficient for the community. So addressing the blight, there's a few different ways that we can do that. I would like to go the route of actually speaking with the landowners before we actually try to go in there in any kind of legal route. But if the legal route is necessary for the betterment of the community, then I believe that's what we have to do.
All right, Mr. Holmes, same question for you about blight.
Yes, a major part of my platform also. Right now we're busy cleaning the Public Works Department, doing as best job they can. Grant you this COVID has stopped or slowed down a lot of the cleanliness. I say to you, we have a lot of out-of-town landlords. I won't go as far as to call them slum landlords. They got the building, they buy the buildings, they rent the buildings out, but they go back to wherever they live, which is usually not in Warner Robins. The citizens or the tenants complain and get no result as a result of that because they can't reach the landlord. The legal side of that is that when you go in and try to clean up, the city can't go in and clean up this property without having contact or billing the owners.
All right, next question is from Caitlin Heck, and Mr. Holmes, you'll answer first this time. Thank you.
Along those similar lines, code enforcement can be utilized as a proactive neighborhood stabilization tool. How would you ensure that this department has the tool and the manpower it needs to operate effectively?
Well, as a sitting council person, we're doing that now. We just put a large sum of money into code enforcement for them to hire more. In fact, I think it's 3 to 6 new enforcement officers. What they've got to do is they've got to patrol the areas, and they've got to stop and meet with the owners. Several years ago, it got real dangerous here. Those of you that were around here saw that, where we had a code enforcement officer shot, trying to enforce the code. We put with that code enforcement group a licensed officer that could actually go out and write tickets and enforce the law. Code enforcement is doing, I think, has done, but it's getting ready to do a yeoman's job in terms of carrying out and cleaning up the city, helping clean up the city.
All right, code enforcement question for Mr. Jones.
Yes, so I think one of the main ways that you can combat certain issues is through education. So I think we need to actually see, do they have the tools? Are they being properly trained to do these things? Or do they know the codes and all of them? And like Mr. Holmes said, funding, that is definitely something that we need to look into. If we need to hire more because it seems like the task is a little too daunting for the staff that we already have, then we need to figure out ways that we can generate the revenue to actually do that. But like I said, the number one thing that I believe would actually help is some type of cooperation between the code enforcement and the community themselves. Make them come off not as somebody who is authoritative, but somebody who's actually trying to help them. I feel like, when you see the code enforcement truck pull up, it might be a little scary at first because you're not sure what did you violate, and for them to come off as a little friendly or to understand that, hey, I'm just here to solve this issue. I'm not here to, to put you in jail or anything like that. I think that would also help. So just some type of community type of cooperation between code enforcement and the community.
All right, next question from Mr. Danzy, and Mr. Jones, you'll answer first.
And Mr. Holmes kind of alluded to this. Let's talk about crime. What would you do to combat crime in the area? Would you do something differently?
Yes, sir. I love this question. So to me, what we normally do is we try to have an enhanced sense of police presence. And while the police department does an amazing job, they only respond to crime. So my main thing is we have to look at the socioeconomic issues that contribute to crime. And that's a lack of education, that's a lack of economic empowerment, that's a lack of mental health services, and that's a lack of home homelessness. So by addressing those issues, you actually prevent crime. And that's the thing that we need to start looking on. We need to be a little bit more preventative when it comes to crime rather than, reactive to what it is. So I think that by creating community centers that can help with resume building or, job seeking and things like that, partnering with some of the behavioral health services around here to ask them if they'd like to volunteer a certain time to maybe talk to people to see if there's things that they can help with and address. I think, and then obviously addressing the education, making sure that people have what they need, becoming financially literate would help to become self-sufficient.
All right, the crime question, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, I had the pleasure from 1972 to 1978 to serve as an auxiliary policeman for the city of Warner Robins. And what we did then was we rode on weekends, holidays, to give the officers some time off. We worked clubs, restaurants, we worked ball games. We went through training. We just did not become a licensed police officer, but we went through all of the training. What we've done now is we've increased the budget for the police department so that they can hire more people. We've allowed, through a charter, we've allowed those individuals serving as officers out on Robins Air Force Base to retire and to come to work and bring that experience to the city of Warner Robins. We need to work and train and provide, develop that village, that community that it's going to take. And we need to not be afraid to talk to the police officers when they pull up.
All right, we have time for one more question. Caitlin, you'll direct the question. Mr. Holmes, you'll go first.
Okay, you mentioned homelessness. How would you combat homelessness within the city?
My question. I don't know if we can combat homelessness. I think we can do some things to help alleviate some of the problems. We have several buildings around here. We look at other communities that take vacant buildings and develop them into homeless apartments, homeless housing. I would like to see some of our business owners, our property owners who have such a facility to offer that to the city and then partner with the city and the community to provide housing. The church is already doing some things. They're feeding on a daily basis, weekly basis. We can't stop doing that. If you see somebody homeless and they need something, if you can help them, help them. But don't make it a habit. Don't enable someone that can get out and earn a living.
All right, homeless question, Mr. Jones.
So what I've noticed is there's a few organizations already working towards, I would say, combating homelessness. They'll go out on certain days, they'll bring bags of toiletry or things like that to give them because they realize that, hey, you don't have these essentials. But I think we need to actually talk to them, see exactly what it is that might have led to the hard times of being homeless, and then see if there's ways that we can address the root cause of that. And it goes back to what I said about crime. Like, if we can address certain things and you can help somebody become a little bit more self-sufficient, which will allow them the opportunity to have a job, holding that job will allow them the opportunity to begin to get into a house or an apartment or some situation like that. I believe we need a little bit more shelters around here. I think that by creating those opportunities that we can allow them a safe space to come to, then that'll actually give them the opportunity to also want to speak to us about other things. And you got to establish some type of rapport. So I think by partnering with the organizations who are already doing something, we could actually combat it a lot quicker. And then, like I said, also addressing the things like education and stuff.
All right, that concludes the question and answer portion. We're now ready for our 1-minute closing statements. Mr. Jones, you will go first.
All right, thank you. Once again, I want to thank 13 WMAZ, Robins Regional Chamber, and Warner Robins for giving me this opportunity. When the protests and the demonstrations started last year, I became active and I wanted to do a lot for my community. I wanted to make it better. And by actually stepping into this position right here, I feel like it's the best way that I can do that. I am running because there needs to be a change. There needs to be more transparency in the way that our government operates, and I'm here to do that. I ran a podcast that was about transparency, that was about letting people know what's really going on, and I plan on doing that exactly when I get into office. I plan on being a very, very instrumental part of what makes Warner Robins continue to be the amazing city that it is. I want to help bring certain things like the downtown area or just redevelop other parts of the community that I am a part of. I love this city and I love the opportunity that I've been given. I'm going to continue to fight every day to make Warner Robins better. My name is Michael Jones. I am running for Post 5, and like I said, I'm here to give a voice to the voiceless. Thank you.
I will conclude now with 1 minute closing statement. Mr. Holmes.
Thank you. Wisdom, knowledge, experience. I bring those three things to the city. I bring those three things to the public. Wisdom, knowledge, and experience. Vote Clifford Holmes Jr., Post 5. I've said to you, I've served 12 years as a council person. I'm not tired yet. There's work to be done. And we are at a stage now where we're beginning to add more things that we can do for the citizens of Warner Robins. So let's keep working. Bring me back. I thank you all for the opportunity to allow me to serve you for 12 years. You didn't have to do that, but you did. And you don't have to keep. This is not a lifetime job. But I've done 12, and I would like to do 4 more years to help continue and finish out some of the things we started and getting ready to start now. Vote Clifford Holmes.
All right, thank you. You have been listening to the candidates for Post 5, Warner Robins City Council, the incumbent Clifford Holmes, the challenger Michael Jones. We appreciate them for being here. We also appreciate our panelists, Caitlin Heck and David Dancy. Thank you. And again, remember, 2 weeks from today, November 2nd, is Election Day.